to come and just talk to me one-on-one about your specific model or your specific idea. I'm very gentle, you know. I'm not going to sit and say anything about it except to just listen to your model, try and understand it from my experience with the number of businesses that I've both opened and looked at. You know, like I was just thinking today, I was coming along. There was a guy packing up the vending machine, and this is how you've got to get this change of mindset. You know, most of us are living life in a rather oblivious way, you know, if I can say. And I see people all around me. Once you get into a certain thinking in life, it can actually blind you to so many things, and not see opportunity that's happening all around you. And there's market research happening all around you that can help inform your business. Maybe not this year, or next year, but the year after. And so there's this guy filling up a vending machine, and you know, 100 people will walk past him and don't see anything. You know, me, I saw a business person. I saw someone trying to make a business work with vending machines. So of course I ask him. I say, how many machines? How many machines like that you got to look after? He said, oh, about 180. I said, yeah, but how many do you get to a week? Oh, he says about 80. You know, that goes straight back here. So when someone starts coming to me with a business model and they talk about they're going to do a vending machine and, you know, and they're going to service 200 a day or something, I know, well, wait a minute. The guy I spoke to a couple of years ago said you can do about 80 a week. That's about it. That's about the level. And I said, how is it? He said, oh, it's great in winter, but in summer, of course, he's, you know, sweats like a pig. But the point when I got in the lift, I thought that was a bit weird because all these people walking past this guy, no one ever talked to him because he was just this vending machine guy. But for me, it was a chance to sort of have a quick insight into his business model. I could see, sort of understand a bit what he does. He puts vending machines everywhere and then he goes around and fills them up. And I was just interested to sort of see, you know, how many, and if I had a chance a bit more, I could have got a lot more from him. And happy to share that knowledge. But that knowledge is valuable to us, you know. Maybe not, maybe you're not going to go into vending machines, but it can just give you some insight into how business works, yeah? So, I don't know how I got into that, but yeah, so in terms of business models, you know, I'm more than happy to sit down with you and discuss your business model and look at, you know, like I say, at the end of the day, it's a formula, and it's a formula that doesn't have any respecter of persons. You could be the nicest person on the planet. You could be doing it for the noblest of reasons, and business just goes smash if you don't do the right thing. And that right thing are certain elements. It's the formula that has certain elements. Now, the formula is such that you can be not strong on this point, and that's good as long as you've made up for it on this point. You know, it's about a balance, and that's why we can't actually sit down with you and say, if you do this and this and this, you'll be a success. Because as we all know, good businesses are built from you, the individual. So that's why we started around there. But so what I'm looking for is when I look at the pluses and the minuses, you know, I'll be listening to you and I'm going, yeah, that's good. That's a bit weak. That's strong, you know. And then at the end of it, I'm left with, like I say, either goosebumps because I think, wow, that's fantastic, or I actually get sick. I think, oh, please don't go and do that. Don't go and do what I did, was sell my house and put it all on an idea that I knew nothing about. Please don't go and do that, you know. So, we can I'll make myself available in about 2 weeks' time. We'll put up a bit of a diary, and you guys can just fill it in. It takes about an hour and a half before you're sick of me and I'm exhausted. I usually go about an hour and a half, and then my brain is just, I'm done. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it can be really useful. It can be, you know, I often wish I had someone like that to go and talk to before I did the things that I did. It would have made a big difference. Okay, so we're talking about business models, which is quite a different sort of planning mechanism to what most of us would assume, that you've got to go and do a business plan. The trouble with most people that are saying to you, you need to go and do a business plan, is that they're probably already in quite mature businesses. And a mature business that has a management-based, you know, mindset, or a business-based mindset, a business plan is probably very, very appropriate. It's not appropriate for this entrepreneurial phase, which is this startup. Going from where you're sitting now to a sustainable business, traditional business plan is not the tool to use. And a lot of people have tried to make it work, but the vast majority of people these days don't even try. It's not a tool that is useful. In fact, it's counterproductive. It will destroy your soul. You know, you'll start on it with all sorts of enthusiasm, and 3 months later, I'll find you under a rug somewhere, you know, with a candle, you know, hiding from the world because there's too much, Pete. I can't understand it, and it is. It's massive. It's massive. So we need to start with 9 building blocks. That's all. We just start with 9, and then what we do is we take each of those blocks and we go and test them. We go and find out if we've got the right macro view, and then in time we can drill down, like we talked about before, into very microscopic things. But the business plan, or the business model, sorry, is the overarching thing that you've got to get right. This can expand to probably 20 questions, I guess, and they're the sorts of things that we will discuss in a one-on-one. I'll be asking you about these things, and they'll just be questions, not so much building blocks. And that's the goal, is to get to that point where you've got a seasoned person who says, yeah, that's got a very good chance of success. Now you have to execute. How are you going to execute? You're going to go and test things, you know. So let's have a look at how we go from here. So customer segment, that's one of those boxes. You've got to decide on that customer segment, and we talked about how that glass of water, to a class of people that are up to here with water, a glass of water had no value. That wasn't the segment to be selling a glass of water to. What we should be doing is go out in the desert and try to find people that are dying of thirst and sell a glass of water to them. That's where it makes sense. And customer segment is very important. It's not just about, this is the important thing, it's not just about a customer segment that is prepared to buy from you, but a customer segment that incredibly values your service incredibly. It values your service to the point where they're prepared to pay here, where everyone else is looking at your price and going, oh, I only want to pay cost plus 20%. If that's your market you're targeting, okay, they want to buy from you, that's probably not the market you should be looking at. Stand back a bit and say, is there another niche market that so value my service? And that situation or that service is often what we talk about later is that subjective or underlying things. So which customers are you going to use? For initially, we want to talk about the big picture. Are they going to be individuals, or are they going to be businesses, or are they going to be governments? What's the big picture? You know, like at least start there. Mike, you sort of said you'd really sell to businesses to a large extent, I think. But you need to make that decision. Then we need to get back into the, segments. And I'll load up to a box what I've got from America where they've got 66 segments. I'm not saying you pick them specifically, but it gives you an idea of the way in which you've got to think through your customer, target customer. I know when Phil and me sat down and we did SkillMaker, put that together, we went and found the photo that we said, this is our target customer. And it's really important to do that. And it was a picture of a girl, a teenage girl in India. The lights were all off, the computer was on, she was at the computer surrounded by family, all going like this. And we said, actually, for SkillMaker, that's our target market. And it's amazing when you've got that picture of your target market, all the other decisions become very easy. Remember those 10,000 decisions I said you had to make? Some major decisions, once you get right, the other ones fall into place. So do yourself a favor and try and find a picture of your target customer. You know, go through magazines and say, that's it. That describes, that's the look of the person. And once you've got that up, a lot of your decisions, all your colors, your styles, your time of offer, and all that starts to make sense, yeah? So it's behaviors, it's demographic. It's not just their demographics, which means their age, their male, female, whether they're married, unmarried, all that sort of stuff. It's also their behaviors. What's their behaviors? Have they got attitudes about, does your customer base have an attitude about the environment? You know, is it heavy into the environment? So that's going to colour a lot of your decisions. Or don't they care about that? Have they got some other thing that they're really, really onto? You know? So we've got to go and look at that. Which to ignore is also really important. We'll talk a bit more about that as we carve that out. For goodness sake, don't say, look, I'm just going to serve everyone, because that's a guaranteed failure. You know, you've really got to hone down, because your decision making about everything is just so confused. You've got to pick your target market. What we do though is have primary, secondary, tertiary. I think we can get to that level. Primary is the one that you really specifically set up for. I used to have customers come into my cafe all the time, and they'd make some sort of demanding restaurant type thing, and we were obviously a pre-packaged sandwich shop that sold takeaway coffee. That's what we were. But she comes in with a mindset that we're some sort of five-star restaurant service. And I just sort of look at her, not just her, but any customer like that, and I'd say, you know, when I set this business up, I had no idea someone like you would come in to this place. I had no idea someone like you would come in and ask for that sort of service. So, you know, where you need to go is across the road and I'll look after you. And you need to do that. Rather than try and cater to that person, you've got to understand you haven't set up for them. All of your ergonomics, all of your assortment, all of your thinking is set up for a different customer, but you can't stop it. You get these people that come in and they're just lost. You need to just direct them to the competitors who need to deal with them, you know. But we do have primary, secondary, tertiary. Primary is the one that you specifically set up for. That's the one that values your service higher than average. Our last business was Ambrosia, where we sold prepackaged sandwiches and takeaway coffee to office people in Boundary Street in the office tower there, the main roads. They wanted convenience. Boy, did they want, the last thing they wanted was to stand there and watch you make a sandwich. They just wanted to pick, pay and go, you know. So we were selling them convenience and we totally targeted them. Of course, the mum with the pram that was coming along that's got all day with her friends to sit at a table and be served and all that, we actually didn't set up for them. And they come along and, you know, we actually didn't set up for that customer. That's not our customer. And they don't value what we do. They hated the fact that it was paper. They hated the fact that it was pre-packaged. You know, they hated all that because we actually didn't set up for them. Luckily, people across the road did. So we got the prams going over the road. Well, we got 400 customers going through and out of our door. So primary, I reckon primary is, that's the one that you've set up for. Secondary are people that could also benefit. You haven't really set up for them, but you know they're in your area, and you're not going to say, I'm sorry, you're not a primary customer, we can't serve you. You're still going to serve them, and to a large extent, your offer actually benefits them as well, but you don't actually target them. You've got to pick one customer that you should target. Tertiary are those people that you can't do anything about. They're people in the area, they're going to come, we're not going to refuse service as long as they don't make any demands on us, as long as they don't ask us to completely change our assortment just to satisfy them. But if they can find a home in what we do, well, you do that. I mean, if we did it at Ambrosia, we'd say, Ambrosia were our office workers. Primary, that's what we set up for. The second one were visitors to the area because we had a hospital across the road. Those people quite valued our service as well, but we didn't set up for them. But they really valued the idea of pick and pay and take it to the hospital. But then the third area were people that lived in the area. And they were, for us, our tertiary market. We actually, if we could, we'd say, no, we don't want to serve you, but we don't because they've got $12 in their pocket and we want that $12. So that's customer segment. So you're going to have to nut that one out, guys, and I'll try and give you some backup support. Also in customer segment, you know, what I have to give you is there's a wonderful book that the guy's written for this business model canvas. And those of you that can, I'll put it up as a PDF and you can read through and you can get a lot of this stuff. But this is just to show you that there's different segments. Mass is where you're appealing to everyone. You know, that's out of our league. That's the place of the mobile phones, that they are designing a mobile phone that they're going to sell to the planet. You know, that's not our world. You know, maybe in Horizon 3 or 33 we can envisage that, but it's not where we should be starting. Niche, definitely us. Very, very specific car parks, I said there. Segmented is interestingly where banks provide loans or service, but they separate between big business and small business. If you go along to a bank and they know you're a small business, they put you into a different segment and treat you differently to the large business. So they're still selling the same product, but they segment it between two. Diversified is where you offer two completely different things. Segmented is not really us either. Really niche is us, but diversified, just give you the understanding of these. Amazon sell books, but because they have massive servers, to sell books they have to have warehouses of these servers that they actually said, we've got all these servers, we've got all these techno guys, we've got all this insurance, we've got all these people monitoring and keeping these servers, why don't we sell server space as well? So they actually created another product, which is where you can actually host your website and a lot of big companies do, Quora do, Quora hosts their website not on their own servers, they host them on Amazon because they've got 24-hour people looking after it. So out of their book selling, they actually created another product, which was providing service days. So that's called diversified. The has nothing to do with selling books. Multi-sided, and some of us will get into this market. I don't mind the multi-sided. We've got a multi-sided product in what we do. When you've got a newspaper, like who's the clients of a newspaper, do you reckon? Readers, mostly? Yeah, it's not really. You know, it's advertisers. They invest massively in making sure their advertisers are happy. Of course, their model is crumbling and being destroyed, but they are multi-sided. So on one side, a customer that buys their newspaper is certainly a customer, but they also have another customer, which is a person that advertises with them. So you've got to be a bit. Sometimes that happens. It's not always ideal. If you've got a multi-sided business, it's probably not good to do as a newbie. Probably save that up for when you've had a bit more experience. At best, for us, it's niche market. You tell me about a niche market that you're highly targeting, a customer that highly values your stuff, and you're starting to make me feel good about your business model. You come in with a mass, I'm going to take over the world, I'm going to get, those feelings. Value proposition, this is another part of what that is. The value proposition, and it always bothered me, the value proposition, because I thought, well, what on earth is that, But it's just simply how do the customers benefit? How do customers benefit from what you do? And it's a big difference from what you do. There's a what you do, and there's how customers benefit from what you do. And the way we separate that is between features and benefits. So quite often, you will talk features, but they say customers buy benefits. When so an illustration, we'll go on the next slide, this will be a bit easier. Features is what something does, but a benefit is how it helps me. And where did I see that? Yeah, the HTC ad on the telly. Have you seen that HTC ad? And it's just product. They're assembling all this product, you see, and then they go HTC.
Sorry, could I just? How do you apply that to food? Obviously.
Yeah, well, what I've done with food is that when people come along, there's hunger and thirst. So hunger and thirst are sort of the major features. But how things benefit people is social interaction.
Yeah.
How it benefits people. What I found in the cafe is you get lonely people that will come and talk to you. Simply, you're actually the only person that talks to them all day. And so there's that side of it as well. It's a chance for, if you've got a sit-down cafe, for people to create relationships. So there's a lot of these other things. So the other thing with benefits is, I'll have to think that one through. But there's this. The benefit is the things that they get out of it that are not just about the tangible things.
Okay.
If I did here, the feature here for this shoe is antibacterial. Now that's actually the feature. It's antibacterial, but the benefit is you get odor-free shoes. Oh, beautiful. Moisture absorbent lining, that's a feature. But cool, dry, free is how it benefits me. Light flexible sole, that's a feature. But what it does is all-day comfort. Oh, light flexible sole means that you can walk all day and you don't wear your feet out. So the benefit is what we really should be concentrating on. And when we talk about value proposition, we don't sit there and we list all the features of what we're doing. We say, how does it benefit? And if you like, why should someone care? And these are, and maybe your answer will be in here, these are the things people value. So when you tell me about your value proposition, I'm hoping that you can find a place there. Your value proposition is we're going to be selling the newest technology because people love new, or a certain percentage of people love new. Performance, people like performance. If you're a business person, you probably look at that performance as number one. Customization, tailors use that as their, why should they care? And if you're a particular sized person, tailors are wonderful. You pay a lot for that person because they're going to customize something and make you look good. Design, fashion, price, no frills, brand, Rolex, cost reduction, risk reduction, accessibility, convenience. they're the things that people value. They're the things that customers value. So when you're talking about your value proposition, I'd like to think you can pick up one or two of those things. So you say, look, our value proposition is really convenience. We sell food and drink, but actually we sell it in a way that makes it very convenient. Or, you know, what we've got is that there's this thing that's very hard to access, like car, or like rental. We all would love to drive a really, really nice car, but none of us can afford to buy a really nice car, but we can rent it. So their value proposition to me is, you know, that thing you'd really love, you can actually rent it for the day. And if you're trying to impress someone, here's your chance, you know. So they've given me accessibility as a why should I care, as a benefit. Once these slides go up, you'll have these, but these are the sorts of things that should be in your value proposition. Not all of them, maybe even one. But maybe sometimes it's one or two. Channels, and we're just going through those blocks. Channels is how do we communicate and how do we deliver that value. So you've got this wonderful thing that's going to benefit me, but how does it get to me? In the communication, how do I get to find out about it? And that's all part of that channel. And we're going to follow that process of that awareness. Building that awareness through social media is a really good way of communicating that value. And then delivering the value, how are you going to deliver it? Are you going to deliver it online? Is it going to be in a retail store? Is it going to be door-to-door? Is it going to be a market store? What sort of a retail store will it be? You know, in cafes you've got all the way from a garage with a bench all the way up to five-star restaurants. So each one of them is delivering value of some sort, but delivering through quite a different channel. So we need to be thinking about that as well. You know, what channel are you going to do it? And at the moment, a lot of you will be able to fill this out with just one word, and that'll be fine. Remember, this business model is not something that's static. Or I don't know how to use that word, but it's something that's flexible. It's something that should be changing. By the time you're finished, if you kept every one of your business model, it might be that thick. By the time you start off tonight and you fill that business model, by the time you launch, it actually might be that thick if you kept every one. Because you change your business model as you get more feedback from your customers about what's working, or from your suppliers. There's channel phases. As I'm going to ask you, how are you going to get that awareness to people? Because that's a delivery. How are you going to deliver awareness? And I've already told you about how we can do that through the web, and we're going to start on doing a web tonight. How do you get people to evaluate what you're doing? You know, that's why testimonials are so important to grab them. How are they going to purchase? Are they going to purchase by credit card online, or are they going to come to your store? And then how are you going to deliver it by post? And then is there after sales as well? All of those things are about a channel. So we need to have a strategy for each one of those phases. Then we talk about customer relationships. What's going to be your relationship with the customer? And obviously this comes down to cost. If you're with SkillMaker, we wanted it to be the lowest possible cost training, basically. That's sort of what we want it to be. So we can't afford one-on-one stuff. We can't afford 1 to 30, but we need a completely automated model, because as soon as you bring humans into a model, you're gonna price yourself out of that market, which is what we want to be. And we want to be just that lowest cost provider. For that product, we're going to have other educational products, but just for that one, we want to segment it out into that low cost. So we would probably go with an automated thing. But Coles are bringing in self-service now, aren't they? Are all of you used it? Yeah, I'm the slowest on that sort of stuff. I went to they've just brought in, what's that? Yeah, why didn't it work? No, I did it in the car park the other day, because I have this fear that I'm going to be the front of the line, there's going to be 40 cars behind me, and I'm the only guy that doesn't know how to feed the thing in and swipe the card, you see. So I looked around the other day and there was no cars around me, so I said to my wife, this is it, we're going to go and we're going to try and do some self-service stuff. So anyway, I negotiated and the boom came up, so now I'm free, you know. And I think it might have been with you that we did our first automated, because I was avoiding doing the self-service at Coles, and I think I was with Phil and said, come on, between the two of us we can work this out. When you get to my age, you get very set in a lot of things, and one of them is pushing your trolley up, unloading it, people pay it, and I walk out with 17 bags, you know. Anyway, so self-service, dedicated, that's more where you have dedicated managers that look after particular accounts. Personal, that's that one-to-one. Communities, you can create online communities that actually have a serve, like Quora is very much a community. I don't have much to do with the owners of Quora. I have everything to do with the community that Quora has built, and I get to know them. And co-creation, which is what YouTube does with YouTube doesn't do any video creating, they just do platform creating, and then they leave their customers to create the other product. So we need to go through, and all of this is fully explained in that book, which we'll upload for you. But you need to decide what's your customer relationship is going to be. So don't tell me you're doing a low-cost model, and this is where everything has to be in balance. Don't tell me you're doing a low-cost model and providing personal one-on-one service. You know, because that is I know that's a really expensive service. And don't say you're going to charge high prices and we're going to do sort of automated unless you've got something that, wow, unless your product is way out of this world and exclusive. You know, like, you know, that's why I say, you know, when I listen to your story, there's no one formula, but at the end of your story, I will have this feeling of that makes perfect sense or it doesn't make perfect sense. And hopefully I'll be able to say, look, you're strong here, what you need to do is maybe change your target customer or change your product or change your market or change your channel, and you'll find that that model will work then. So that's what I'm hoping to be able to do for you. So that's it for those, that's not all 9 parts of that business model, but it's the first ones to get you started. If we get a chance tonight, I'll do the other ones as well, but what I'd like to do is on Thursday nights is get hands-on keyboard. So we are going to get hands-on keyboard. So I'd like you to go to Google. Is everyone online now?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, we're going to create a website.